In this video, I'm going to show you how to install a vinyl floor transition strip. And we're going to do it right now. In a perfect world, you don't need transition strips. You can run your flooring in every room, the same type of floor, and have no breaks in between the rooms. But if you're anything like me, you do have a break. I know, let's get it over with. This floor and this floor are different colors, even though I did them at the same time. They had plenty of this floor and this floor at the store, so no, it wasn't discontinued. I just chose a different color for this floor, and that's my choice. You don't have to worry about it. There we go. You might have to do this anyways with vinyl flooring because some manufacturers of vinyl flooring recommend that you break up the floor after a certain amount of square footage or linear footage. You have to check with the type of floor that you're using for what they recommend. But you might have a transition like this that you need a transition strip for. Also, if you're going into a room that already has carpet or hardwood, maybe you have two different heights of flooring, that's what I'm going to show you in this video, how to cover that up to make it look good. When it comes to vinyl transition strips, there are so many different types on the market. This one is a generic strip, which means it's not this brand of flooring, it's not this brand of flooring. The brand is actually Performance Accessories, and they have a ton of different colors, so I just got a color to match this floor because I'm gonna have the transition in the hallway and try to make it disappear underneath the door here so you won't see it from the bedroom. This is how this one works. There's this little channel right here, and it locks into this piece. And the way this works is these are just shims. So depending on the height of your floor, you can use these to bump it up. Let's say that you have vinyl on one side and carpet on the other. You would butt this to the carpet, and then you would put this strip in, and this would sit down flat on the vinyl, and then this would butt up to the carpet, so you'd have a nice transition to that. Or if your flooring is just slightly off or even, like mine is, you break this strip off right here, and you attach this to the floor, and it locks into this channel right here, makes a nice tight connection, and you'll have a smooth transition over these two floors. This is just one type. There's other types where you drill holes and then some pins slide into here, and then those lock in to the holes with some anchors. Or they have this smaller channel, almost like this, where this piece will lock in just like that, and you actually screw this to the floor. They even have ones that come in rolls that just kind of roll out and you can stick it to the floor. Those are kind of nice and easy to install. I'm going to show you how to install this type, but they are all pretty simple and relatively the same installation process. So let's take a look at exactly how I'm going to do this. What I could do is use this gap. I could somehow sneak this in here, whether it be lift this up a little bit, cut it in half, and slide it in. But what I'm gonna end up doing is cutting this and giving plenty of room for this floor to move around. And if I install this just like it is, it would be hanging out way over here, and I want this to be hidden under the door, kind of like this, at least behind where the door closes to. I don't mind seeing this from the hallway. It's 2 inches wide, so you're gonna see it somewhere. I'd rather see it in the hallway here than from the inside of the bedroom, but that is a total preference. But the other reason is because when you hold it right here, it's gonna be a little trickier to notch around this trim. So if I hold it back like this, I'll only have one notch on each side, and I think it'll be an easier install and a cleaner look. I'm gonna hold this here, make sure there's a little room between this and the floor, and then I'm gonna mark this here, making sure that my piece is gonna cover that line because I am gonna cut this flooring back so I can attach this strip. Now you might be thinking you can just attach this directly on top of the floor and then snap this piece in and you're all set. But the thing about that is not only is it not all the way down right here, see how it's a little rocky, but you also don't want to attach this with fasteners through the floor because you need this floor to move around. It's a floating floor. So I have my mark here. I'm going to make the same mark on the other side and cut this floor back. that mark. So I'm going to make sure this is the same on both sides. It's a half inch here. I'll see if this gap is going to be the same. A little stronger than 1.25 inches. A little stronger than 1.25 inches. Now I cut a straight piece of scrap wood. I'll hold it here so I can make a mark. And that is what I'm going to cut out very carefully. And I have about 1/4 inch from the end of this to here and the end of this to here. And I have room here for the floor to move around in between this piece. So I think I'm good. My old trusty tool. Okay, so with this, I can break off this little piece right here. Again, that's if your floors are different heights and you need to butt up to a higher floor. Also, if you're doing this where the floor heights are just slightly off, like 1/4 inch or so, you can just use this right here and you can put your piece at a slight angle and it'll still work fine as long as it's locked into the strip. But I don't need this piece, so I can break that off. Now I'm going to measure this, 31 3/4, 31 3/4. I can cut this with some tin snips. You could also use a hacksaw or a jigsaw or a circular saw, whatever you have at your disposal, whatever's easier for you. This is going to go in just like that. I'm going to want to raise this up because when I put my piece in here, it is not going to attach. So I think I can do one of these shims. One shim is still not really catching. I do another. So I got 2 shims and I've locked it into this piece. There we go. So I'm going to use 2 shims here. So I can break these pieces off. And if yours doesn't come with a shim like this and you need one, you can use whatever you have laying around. If you want to rip some strips of wood. Hold these at the same length. I'm going to cut them back a little bit more. Put them in there, make sure it's going to work. And I'll put them like this. And I'm actually going to trim this back because it's getting caught up on this right here. It doesn't have to go all the way. Something like that. That's going to be perfect. Yeah, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do 1 shim because I think 2 is just too much. I don't want there to be any gap. So at least if I have it a little bit lower, it'll pull this down. So 1 shim it is. You guys might know I like flex glue. Shim. And then on top of the shim. Now I can put this piece in here. Make sure it's where I want it. And I'm going to use these little tiny nails to attach it. Once I get to this point where I might damage this piece, I'll use a nail set and drive this in the rest of the way. Measure it over here. Get this side good. You could also use staples if that's easier for you. So my longest measurement here is 32 inches. So I'm going to go cut this at 32 inches on my chop saw and make sure I have 2 nice ends here. My advice to cutting stuff like this on a chop saw is to have a blade with as many teeth as you can get, if possible, and go nice and slow when you're cutting it so it doesn't catch and break apart. Make sure this fits in between here. That is perfect. So now on both ends, what I'm going to do is make a mark right here because I have to notch this, and then I can pull this up and just match up this piece where it's going to lock in. It's actually sitting in there just a little bit, and I'm going to mark this and notch that out. Same thing over here. I'm going to mark this. And I'm not going to mess around with a jigsaw because I don't want to end up breaking this. I know that I can make a nice cut with a coping saw, so I'm just going to be very careful, follow that line, and make a nice cut. Easy peasy, George and Wheezy. Do the other side. Test fit it. Yeah, looking good. I actually took the door off because I have to cut it down. That's something you might have to do. And it's nice and even here, nice and even here. Now let's line it up. Make sure it goes into that strip. And the last part, the most satisfying part, is get it started in that strip. I'm going to use a rubber hammer. Just start carefully tapping it into place from one end to the other. Nice. Nice and even to both floors. Looking good. Got the door back on, and when you shut it, can't see it from here. And then the hallway matches up to this floor nicely. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope it helps you if you need to do a transition strip like this. By the way, this bedroom, if you've been following along, is completely done. So keep an eye out for the big time lapse of the renovation of this room, adding a third bedroom to my 2-bedroom house. It might be out already depending on when you're watching this. If you want to see more videos like this one, you can click hereish and hereish and check those out. And if you haven't subscribed yet, definitely consider it for more home repair videos. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.